Lunch Money Lambert, Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
Kayak Bass Nation is presented by Dugout Bait and Tackle. Go to dugoutfishing.com to find everything you need for your next kayak bass fishing tournament.
Hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego.
Also sponsored by Revo Sunglasses. Go to revo.com, use code KBN25 to save 25% off your next order. Revo, best lenses on earth. Also sponsored by Western Sun Vodka. Go to westernsundistillery.com and use the bottle finder to find a bottle near you.
Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday night. Welcome to KBN Live. Coming off the weekend. What a fun weekend it was watching the TOC go down. Of course, you guys know our guest already. We've got Brian Nelli, the champ, the grand champion in here. It's going to be a fun one. And I just want to welcome back my partner, Ryan. I felt lost without you last week, Ryan.
I'm back, buddy. I'm back. Look like y'all held it down pretty good.
Yeah, I brought in all the TDs. You know, the TDs are used to carrying everybody's nonsense on their back. So they carried me through the show, 3 TDs.
I like it.
It was a good one. It was kind of part 2 of our rules discussion that you and I had with the angler panel. It went pretty good. There's a lot of good feedback.
I can't wait to see some of these rules in real life.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. But of course, it's all about the champ tonight. We're gonna talk about the TOC champ, and another one is in the books. I can't believe that the season's over and the TOC's in the books, man. Crazy.
We have 4 TOC champs now.
Once again, I'll be bookended on the show by a couple of TOC champs, and you welcome a new guy into the club tonight, Ryan.
Yep.
How about that? And I can't wait to hear his story. It's kind of unique coming from the salt
very
side
unique.
Of things.
It's very unique. Yeah, the way he got here is pretty. The way he got here, I don't think if you said this guy's 3rd year bass fishing, he's going to win the biggest tournament in kayak fishing.
Yeah. The more I hear stories like that, the more I think I should just stick to podcasting. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no comment. You got it.
It is what it is. Yeah.
You got it, Jeff.
Yeah.
You've got a gift.
But good stuff. We're going to talk to Brian here shortly. Of course, we like to always recap some things that went down. Something that I hate to say it flew under the radar because people talked about it, but Friday, the BOS released their schedule. And it was kind of overshadowed by the tournament itself, as it should have been. But the schedule came out. What did you think about that?
I liked it. That's I made the graphic just messing around, and I didn't realize everybody was going to use it. So
yeah.
I should have done a little better job. My apologies.
So that's all right. It was something. It was something to share, and share people did. So
Hobie, send me a check.
That's right. Send him a check. I was real impressed with it, man. I think those first 4 events especially are going to be bangers, and there's some other good ones on there too.
I'm glad he put Kentucky Lake on there. That way everybody has a good break in the middle of the season. They can take a tournament off and just relax at home.
Yeah, I saw they're giving the Northeast another chance up to New York, which is apparently Cayuga and those lakes up there are great lakes. It's just hopefully eventually we can get some.
I mean, everybody had a good time at Champlain. It sounded like, from for the most part, it sounded like a real good fishery. So Cayuga, I think was it KBF or Bass or somebody had a tournament up there this past year, right?
Yeah.
One of the two, but I think it performed very well.
Yeah, and maybe the most shocking I hate to say shocking because he was in the running, but after looking at how the tournament was going and how it finished up, the AOY for Hobie, seeing Cody walk away with that, what did you think about that? That was a shocking finish.
I mean, I'm never surprised to see Cody Milton win an AOY. I am surprised to have watched the leaderboard all day thinking that it was like some sort of showdown between the Minor brothers, going back and forth who was going to finish where. And then everybody forgot about, Cody's Cody's consistency, because we did our research, because that's exactly what we do for hours every day, and pulled up Cody's finishes. His AOY points. He didn't win any events this year, but he was always second or third, it seemed like, in a lot of them. So consistency is key. Hats off, Cody Milton.
That's right. And I think he did that a different year when he won a different AOY, maybe for KBF, where he didn't really win an event or many events at all, but stayed in that top 5 and top 3 all year long. That's what it takes.
I think he's the only angler to win all 2 AOYs in a year, KBF and BOS.
I don't even think did he fish any bass events this year at all? Yeah, I don't think he chased the AOY for bass, so no chance.
I don't know. I don't know if he fished any of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Todd Patrick's in the comments asking when will Bass release their schedule?
Next year, Todd.
Yeah, sometime before the first tournament. We know that for sure. So,
yep.
A lot of things to work out over there. I know with changing leadership and who knows what's going on, they'll get that ironed out sooner rather than later, I hope. We'll see.
Yep. Ready to get to planning.
Yeah. I don't want to take too long because I know our guest has got to be tired. 3 days of fishing, pre-fishing, and then driving all the way back to, Key West almost down there, West Palm Beach. So he had a long drive ahead. He made it home, so we're going to get him in here and chat with him in a minute. But before we do that, we always like to talk about our sponsors. So, of course, this show is presented by Dugout Bait and Tackle. I'm going to throw this graphic on screen. Big sale going on in there, Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
About that?
Anything Yakima that you need, 20% off. Call, text, tweet, whatever you need to do. Get in touch with us. We'll hook you up. We got all kinds of stuff. We got trailers. We got rod boxes. We got accessories. Let us know what we can do for you.
Yeah, and it says right there on the screen, you can even use the dugoutfishing.com website. Use Yakima20. Get 20% off on the website. So there you go.
Easy peasy.
I've been eyeballing one of those yacht rod boxes. Even though I have a different brand trailer, I think I can stick one of the boxes on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Double-sided tape or something.
Bolt it on there, tape,
yeah,
bungees, whatever. It'll work.
Yeah.
Of course, then Revo sunglasses, best lenses on earth. Proud to be repping the Revo brand here. Make sure you use KBN25 over there on Revo.com to save some money. And then Western Sun Vodka, always holding it down. Got a bottle of watermelon right there in my screen. Need to crack it open, but
I haven't tried the watermelon yet. I don't think
it's good stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff. I've already been through a couple, and that's my last one right there. I replaced the shelf.
Wow,
it's authentic. It's not like water with food coloring. It's a real bottle of vodka there.
Okay,
it's not just a prop, right?
I like it.
But yeah, with that said, there's not much else to cover. We got a big audience growing on YouTube and Facebook. We appreciate you guys. There's actually a poll. If you're watching on YouTube, go hit that poll, and I'll go check the results of that. Asking about this tournament in particular. Is this the most dominant 3-day performance you've ever seen in a kayak tournament? I can't put that on Facebook, but I put it on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube watching, hit the poll.
How many 3-day tournaments have we seen?
There's been a couple national championships for 3 days. TOC last year was 3 days. There have been a lot
about those.
There's been a few.
Yeah,
so.
I got you.
Or just tournament performance in general. I mean, a blowout like that is unbelievable in a championship of any day length. So there we go.
I mean, he didn't go wire to wire, but he did all right.
Yeah. I mean, just staying up there in the high 90s the whole time and just blowing away the field. Crazy. But we're going to talk to him about that. We'll take a quick break, and we will have him in here.
Yeah.
All right, you guys know normally we have the top 3 standing on the stage, but this one angler today, all weekend, separated themselves from everybody, so the stage is all theirs. $45,000 in the title of Grand Champion, qualifying for the Hobie Fishing Worlds, qualifying for next year's Tournament of Champions, in one of the most epic and dominating performances we've ever seen on our biggest stage. Had 96 3/4 on day 1, 96 1/4 on day 2, 101 1/2 today. Your Grand Champion, Brian Nelli. Brian's total was 294 1/2 and had just under a 20-inch lead on the second place finisher.
Boom. There it is. I had to replay it so Brian could relive it one time before we brought him in.
That's a lot.
How's that feel rewatching that, Brian? Have you watched that again since you've been there?
No, actually, I didn't even see it.
Perfect.
There you go, man. He's a humble champion, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he ain't gonna watch himself.
Yeah. But yeah, Brian, congrats, man. Thank you for taking the time. I know you've been on the road. We appreciate you taking the time, and congrats on the huge win, man.
Yeah, thank you. No problem.
Yeah.
So tell us, and we kind of alluded to this, tell us how you got into bass fishing, because we met like 5 or 6 years ago when I was down in South Florida for work. I wanted to go catch a sailfish, and I think we got a cold front and like 30-mile-an-hour winds offshore, so we ended up canal fishing. You are not a freshwater guy by trade, so kind of give us a little bit of history on how you ended up in the BOS series.
I'm just a competitive person by nature, so I, fished the inshore saltwater series when the IFA was around. I did those, and I had some success, and I won one of those. I do a lot of offshore tournaments, and I've had a lot of success doing the offshore stuff. So I wanted another challenge, to be honest. I had done some of those early KBF like local events around Fellsmere a few years ago when they had them there, and that's really the only kind of tournament bass fishing I'd done. But I felt that I needed to see and maybe prove to myself I could be competitive in a different type of fishery. So that's really what I wanted to do.
You did that.
Yeah.
So I listened to awards. Jeff skipped the awards, but tried to recap some. So tell us about kind of when you started. You said you kind of had, tiered goals for each year. Talk about that and kind of how you move through kind of the mental process of acclimating yourself to freshwater fishing.
I mean, like the first year, the first thing going into it, I thought it was going to be easy. Oh, I can catch bass. It's not going to be a problem. And I honestly think I fished 2 or 3 events that first year, and I didn't even catch a bass. I didn't even log a fish for those tournaments. So it was very humbling, and I was like, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I was giving you guys mad props for being able to be consistent, especially going to different fisheries at different parts of the country. So after that year, I said, I'm going to put more time into doing the research on these lakes before I go to it. And last year I just said, I just want to cash a check. So again, I think I was able to do 3 last year, and I finally cashed a check at Pickwick at the end of the year. And then after that, I was more determined than ever. So I said for the next year, this year, that I just want to make the TOC. So I did well at Santee. I think I got 14th. And Eufaula, I did mediocre. And then Susquehanna, I got 12th. So I kind of slid in there within 40-something spot to qualify for the TOC. So just being there I was happy to do that. And again, I mean, I was excited because it was kind of like Santee fishery. I like fishing shallow water grass type lakes. So I was excited for where it was at, for one. Obviously I didn't expect the outcome, but it's very exciting to have that happen. What happened during the 3 days is just ridiculous to me. It's just like, I really can't fathom still what happened. It was just the best 3 days of fishing you could have. So
I did, like Ryan said, I rewatched the awards. I was not home when they broadcast them, but I heard you say something up there that you weren't exactly having the best practice up until you found your juice. So kind of go through what you found in practice up until you found the magical stretch that you found there.
Yeah, I got there Monday afternoon. I got on the water for like 3 hours. I had a few blow ups on a frog, but I really didn't get to fish much. I was just kind of looking around. I decided I didn't really like that area, though. I kind of went a little further away from there on the first full day of practice. Then I had a motor, and my motor broke that day, so that wasn't very enjoyable because that was the day I was going to go pretty far. But I still went. I just had to pedal the whole way. And I didn't really find anything, but I was kind of bumming out. I actually ran into Scotch, and we kind of talked for a little bit, and he actually paddled past me, and a bunch of bass started blowing up, and I caught an 18-incher there, and that just gave me a little burst of a little more spirit in my, a little more wind in my sails just to catch one. But end of that day, didn't really catch anything else, and kind of decided, I don't want to be in these areas, so I went completely somewhere else. Found some fish, shallow tree type stuff. and I was, they're good fish, 18 inchers, again, blowing up on a buzz frog. And then I went again, probably another 45-minute pedal away from that area, just checking different stuff, and came up on a section of where there was some bass blowing up on shad. I didn't even try to catch them. I just sat there and watched for a little bit, and then moved on, and was checking some other stuff near that area, and then kind of ended that day. And then on the third day of practice, I again launched somewhere close to that shad spot, and was just kind of checking stuff around there, throwing a worm around and kind of going a little slower with the presentation, and caught some good fish doing that again, close to that area. And then I went over there again, and they were blowing up on shad again. So I was fairly confident 2 days in a row they're doing it. It's not just some rogue school that's, just there for one day and might not be there the next. So I was hoping that they would still be there. And to me, it looked like an area that they should be there. So I was fairly confident that it would continue, at least for the next day. So that's pretty much it. I decided after that, I'm like, well, I'm going to go there first thing. And in my head at first, I thought there's got to be somebody else that saw this. Like, because if I see it both days, like somebody else had to have seen it as well. I lost my light here. Hold on. So I'm thinking there's going to be, I'm going to be racing, 10 guys to the spot. But it turned out I really only had to race one. I heard from a couple other guys that they had seen it too in practice, but obviously I beat them there, so they just kind of bowed out. And that's about it. And then it was pretty much that main spot. I did, move around a little bit from that area to catch some other ones and upgrade, but it was one big main spot.
That's wild.
Did Steve Fields make you do a shotgun launch at all?
It was like that on day two.
Another question that I have about your story here. Did Matthew Scotch have pants on when you saw him?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Later on in the weekend,
all right,
did that change?
I'm trying to get that picture. Scotch still doesn't have his phone back. I texted him and asked if he was selling nudes, but he has not to receive that message yet. So once I can acquire that image, we'll get it out there.
Wow. Earlier in the comments, somebody said there were a lot of folks winning practice. And we all saw that. There was giant fish coming in the pre-fishing
One dude
time.
caught that 10-pounder.
Yeah. So, we've talked about that before, especially when Jordan's been on here, about how to practice correctly and not just beat fish to death when you're practicing. What was it? Did you have any temptation to check those fish, cast on those fish, or busting on those shad, or did you just kind of have that instinct to say, you know what, it looks good, feels good, I'm not gonna hurt them in practice?
I honestly only threw a couple times with a fluke with no hook on it, and they chased it down. And that was it. And I just left it alone. And actually, on that last day of practice, Steve was right there, and I told him, like, I could catch you a good one right now, but I really don't want to mess with him.
He thanked you for being media boat friendly. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Yeah,
it's good karma.
Yeah, I was trying to set them up so they could get a good shot of the bass blowing up on my bait. So I didn't, he was staying far back. I was trying to get him closer.
Steve's usually good luck. Like when he pulls up, normally something good will happen on my experience, but I know other people have different opinions on that when there's a camera around.
Mark Cisneros is the opposite. It's bad luck when he pulls up. No, I'm just kidding. We love you, Big Worm. We love you, Big Worm. Explain this, Brian, if you can. Why were those fish holding there? Did you figure it out? Was there a depth change, a certain kind of cover? What was going on there that they were holding there for that many days?
Yeah, I don't want to get tailed on it because I think it's pretty obvious if you looked at it. So, like, it was a grass edge near deep water. I mean, and they're pushing the bait up to the grass, and, ambushing them. Okay. And there's definitely, and you talk about Nolan. I don't know if we talked about that on the live thing. Nolan was close to me for the most part, and we were fishing right by each other. And he was very courteous to me, because I beat him there. And I told him, like, you can come in close, I don't care. But he insisted on staying back, especially on day one. But then, of course, when I had a 90-inch limit, I'm like, dude, you can come in here, I don't care. But there was definitely a spot that I'd say it was pretty small, especially early in the morning, that you had to get in like a 10-foot by 10-foot area or you weren't going to get bit. And then I'd say after the first 2 hours, then they kind of spread out from that. But yeah, the bigger ones, especially day 2 and 3, the bigger ones are all caught in that one little spot. And I'm still not exactly sure what was right there because I never wanted to go right on top of it to see what it was. But
very cool. Let me throw the actual standings on the screen here. So like Ryan said, you weren't wire to wire. Brady Stores had a huge limit day 1. He had that big, ended up winning big bass with that 23 3/4 or whatever it was, giant fish. But you were right there. I mean, 96 3/4. So take us through your day 1, man. How did day 1 go from start to finish?
Well, you know it's going to be pretty good when your first cast is a double on a top water. So I had first cast was a 17 and a 16 on one cast. So it was I was pretty that. And then 3 casts later, I got another double. So I think for day one, I had a limit in 15 minutes.
Jeez, did you have a GoPro running?
No, I didn't.
Ah, Brian, come on.
Yeah,
Oof.
but it wasn't a huge limit. It was probably low 80s, and then I upgraded a little bit in that one main spot, and then I actually, I told Nolan he can come in there, and I moved around to some of the other areas. I caught fish, and I was probably moved like 100 yards. First cast caught that 21 1/4, and on a worm, and then I went to one of my other spots that's a little further away, again in grass on a worm, caught another, I think, upgraded maybe another half 18 something. I'm not sure which one it was. And then I went back to Nolan, kind of talked to him. I'm like, seeing how he was doing. And, we obviously agree we didn't want to beat that spot up too much, but we also didn't want anybody else coming in there. So we're kind of just hanging out by it for a little while. And I was kind of satisfied with what I had. I think I had 96 or whatever it was at that time. And then I saw Brady 98. I'm like, maybe I should still fish a little more. But I also didn't want to beat up other fish, get that spot kind of fizzle out. So I didn't want to go to, some of the other areas I had caught decent fish. So I kind of just ran around fishing trees, which I didn't have much luck fishing trees, even in practice. But I was just seeing if I could get a bigger bite somewhere else. Didn't happen. And I think I quit at like 2 o'clock on day 1.
Ryan, I'm not the smartest man, but I'm doing a little math here with Brian and Nolan's limits. And then they've got culls on there, and the fish Brian is talking about that he doubled probably aren't even in these culls.
I didn't put them
yeah. So you guys, between the two of you in one little stretch, we're throwing up, 250 inches at least, maybe more?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how many fish I lost on top water. I lost day 2. I lost 20s. I would have had over 100 on day 2, but I lost a couple right at the boat. So, but I wasn't upset. I was happy with what I got. Obviously,
That's crazy.
Wow, amazing. We'll throw that graphic back up in a minute. That's cool. That's cool that Nolan and you work together.
Yeah,
I mean? Because one of you could have been a jerk about it and really wore that spot out all afternoon long and said, "Whatever, dude. If you leave, then it's mine."
Yeah. Again, he was cool and came up right away. Looked at my rods and saw what I had on. He's like, "Yeah, we're probably fishing the same thing that we saw in practice." So we just, said we'll spread out here day 1, and then again, like he was super cool and wanted to stay far back, and I kept telling him, like, "Dude, you can get in close and throw right next to me. I don't care." But again, day 2 and 3, and then day 3, we were like literally 20 feet from each other, power pulled down and just whacking them. So
did he? I bet he had his GoPro running. Maybe we can check it on his channel.
That's true. That is true.
He got filming me on day 3 because we were close. I think he filmed me land that 21 or something. But yeah, again, he just honestly, we were pretty much in that same spot. I did say that one 10 by 10 area was kind of a funny thing, but there was still plenty of fish around. But it definitely at one spot kind of held some of the bigger ones, especially early in the morning. And I kind of had dominated that spot, and that's why I think I got some bigger ones. But I also Nolan was staked out like just a little, like 50 yards from me. He then pulled up and moved. I got away from that main spot, went over there kind of close to where he was. I made one cast and I caught a 20. So it's like, I couldn't do no wrong. It's like, it was ridiculous. Every spot I went to, like where I had caught fish in practice, I threw and I got an 18. On day 2, I was catching 18s everywhere I went. And I said, I got to stop because if the spot fizzles out, I don't want to wreck all these other fish that I've been catching on these other spots. So it was just ridiculous.
Ryan, how many times we said it on here? When it's your time, it's your time.
Right.
You can do no wrong when it's your day. Sometimes it comes down to the wire, though. Like my TOC didn't come down to the wire. It was pretty much running wide open. But like Watts bar, I had to grind for it to like the last 10 or 15 minutes. It did not feel like my day at all. But I could not imagine. I mean, when you were up by like, at one point during the morning, you were up by like 30 inches or something, like immediately. Like, where do you find the drive to keep to keep catching 20s at that point? When are you like, okay, like I'm gonna go get a biscuit or something?
Well,
About 9:15
on day 3. Yeah, I mean, once I hit 98 inches, I'm like, well, this is a lock in my mind. So
and ours too.
I'm glad to hear you say that. You didn't politic us. You just said, yeah, it's locked up.
So I moved to where I could get service and I uploaded. I told Nolan, here, get in there on the hot spot. And I came back and I staked out and sat there and just watched him fish for a little bit. I think AJ made a comment that he saw some beef sticks in the bottom of my boat. And I literally was just sitting there with my feet up, taking a snack and just watching Nolan fish for a while at like 8:30. So and then it's like they're on the day 3, they're blowing up on shad all day long. So why am I going to go sit in the truck? I was just having fun. I just kept casting. And then I upgraded to get 100. I got 220s to upgrade to 100, over 100. So.
Oh my gosh. Not a bad day.
That seems to kind of all that the way it went down for you, staying on a topwater bite and busting shad, seems to go against the bass book of cold fronts coming through,
right?
And weather changing. Why do you think it held like that? Because I mean, tell people what the conditions, how they changed from, let's say, Wednesday to Friday. How did they change?
Yeah, Wednesday was like in the morning 50 degrees, and then the next day I think at least it was 10 degrees colder each day. So I think it started 50 degrees, then it was 40 degrees, then 30 degrees. And again, I thought it was going to hold up. I was fairly confident. Just with the cold, I didn't think it was going to matter because it was near the deeper water. And Nolan had told me too that he had seen the same thing days before I had seen it. So I just think it was just an area that they're going to be feeding. I really didn't have much worry that it was going to shut down. I thought it would be fine, and it was. So
paid off. What was the wind doing? I saw, some videos from some guys. It looked like Saturday the wind really kicked over. Maybe it was like the second half of the day Friday, late in the day Friday is when that initial front edge moved in. I saw some guys were posting videos of quite a bit of wind out there.
Yeah, actually, day 1, I think probably like an hour and a half in, there was like a front that came and picked the wind up real bad, but then it calmed down a little bit after that.
That didn't affect your spot at all?
No. And it was just like a line of wind. It looked like storms coming in, but it rained a little bit, but it wasn't terrible. But yeah, day 2 was real windy. It was kind of a pain, and I had to, I couldn't power pole down where I was at. I was trying to throw into the wind, so kind of a mess, but it got it.
And they were still just tearing that topwater up.
Yeah. So day 2 was tough with the wind, and then the wind switched total different direction on Sunday, and then it was a little easier to make casts.
We got some questions. Randy Dotson, if you're willing to reveal this, how deep was the deep water on the grass edge?
I mean, it's like 3 foot on the flat, and then maybe 5 foot. Only a couple feet difference.
Yeah, that's relative down there. I mean, it's just a big flat swamp, right? There's not a whole lot of deep, what you call deep water.
No.
And then Matt Zabala asked, did any boats, no boats caught onto the juice? Were there any bass tournaments or any boats that were sniping in on your spot?
There was a boat there in practice, and I was worried about that as well, because they caught a couple there and they were acting like they were trying to hide it. So I thought they maybe had a tournament coming up or something. So I was a little concerned that we started a little later, I believe, because of duck season. So we didn't launch in the dark. It was light out when we launched. So I was concerned that maybe there would be a boat there, but no, we didn't have any issue the whole time.
Yeah, I think those guys down there are probably more concerned with duck hunting than they are fishing anyway.
Right.
Duck hunting and shooting gators. That's what they're doing down there. Corey, buddy, you have clicked on the wrong show. This is the TOC Champion show. So
if you're looking for a Bassmaster conversation, you're in the wrong place, bud.
Yeah, we'll have that soon, hopefully. Soon. But we're still waiting.
Relatively soon.
We're waiting. We're waiting for that. Yeah, we're talking to the grand champion tonight. Ryan touched on it earlier, man, talking about your saltwater background and what you do down there in Florida. How much of that, I mean, fishing is fishing. How much of that crossed over as far as your instincts and different things, fishing inshore, coming over to bass fishing? Or did you have to completely relearn tactics for targeting these bass in different places?
No, I think bass fishing, especially inshore salt fishing, it can relate a lot of things, and that's why I like fishing shallow grass type lakes, because it's similar to fishing the flats, in saltwater. And looking at things and how points and channels and grass flats and how things line up like that, and where bait gets pushed into, and how the wind plays and the current going by things kind of are similar. So that part of it's fairly similar, but again, like, when the thing that challenged me my first year was going to these river systems, and I was just clueless, of what to do with it. So fishing these shallow lakes like Santee and Caddo and places like that, it makes a lot more sense to me. So I feel a lot more comfortable.
And you got both those on the schedule for next year. So
I know, yeah.
Got to make you happy.
Yeah, the first 4 look great, and plus I don't have to drive 12 hours to get to one, so it's going to be nice.
Yeah. Have you fished is it the Harris chain? That's what's on there?
I did the Bassmaster one this year. Yeah.
I have not fished that yet. I want to go down and check that one out for sure.
Yeah, that one would be cool, especially depending on how many lakes they let you fish. So there's a lot of area to choose from.
So Brian, that's a 12-hour drive for me, maybe a little further. Is it worth it? Is it worth driving to the Harris chain?
What time of year is that? February?
February.
Yeah. It'll be a cold front. Let's go ahead and put that out there in reality. That's the first tournament of the year, man. It's always like it'll be 37 degrees and 18-mile-an-hour winds. I'll put money on it today.
Yep.
So, Jeff, no. But pre-fishing, that week before pre-fishing will be on fire. Oh, yeah. You'll have the time of your life out there.
Gas may be $8 a gallon by then, so I may save it for Caddo in a few weeks after that. We'll see.
I want to see, and I know this is a stretch, I want to see one of these big trails. I know they'd have to work with Fish and Wildlife or whoever it is that runs the grade, but I would love to see a kayak tournament on Fellsmere, a big kayak tournament on Fellsmere, Marchish. I think that would be a damn good time.
It'd be a good TOC spot. You could hold 50 pretty easy, right?
Yeah, you could. That'd be fall. I mean, they eat in the fall, obviously, but that I think if you could get those big bedding fish, Christine, she went down there and caught, what was it, 2 10-pounders or something around that time a couple years ago. That would be that'd be a fun.
Whoa.
Yep.
Ryan just like straight up disappeared out of nowhere. But I agree with him. It would be fun.
Yeah.
We'll wait on him to rejoin. We got some crazy comments coming in. I don't know if I'm going to put them all up on the screen or not. Kings of Sanity on YouTube, you're wild. He said he fishes naked and puts the pole between his butt cheeks. I don't know if I want to put that on the screen or not. You're insane. King of Sanity. There you are, Ryan. You're back.
I give up. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
just like disappeared. No static.
Anyhow, I was going to Fellsmere. I was halfway out the door. I'll see
you. Got excited and ran out the door. Tyler O'Brien, you didn't join too late for this, and I heard this in the weigh-in replay. Did he miss the bait talk? Brian mentioned a different pitch rattle during the awards. Is he willing to share?
Yeah, again, with Nolan being right next to me, he was throwing top water, I was throwing top water, and I was getting 10 times the amount of bites. On day 3, I actually gave him one of those, and immediately, I think 2 casts later, he caught an 18 on it. So he was using a little bigger profile. I had a smaller profile bait with a high pitch rattle, and his was like a little different sounding rattle. I don't know if that was a huge thing, but obviously there was a difference there. But I've found that, like, again, with my saltwater experience, I like using usually like a 1 knocker for top water walking baits in saltwater, but I've found the higher pitch rattle for bass fishing has worked better for me. But it definitely worked this time for sure.
Okay, I like that. Any kind of modifications, or is it just out of the package bait that you got?
Out of the package. Just a high pitch rattle.
All right, there you go.
Do you change the hooks on yours?
I didn't. No.
I like it.
You say it was a smaller profile or no?
Yeah,
He
Okay.
did. Yeah.
I got you. And, once again, hats off. I saw Todd Miner in the comments. Hats off to Nolan because I don't want to say kid because he's not a kid. He's a young man. I think the young man carries himself like a pro already. So I don't know if you experienced that, Brian, but it sounds like you did. So hats off to Nolan for hanging in there with you for those days. We thought him or his brother was going to pull off that AOY.
Dude, hats off to Nolan and Edwin. We were talking, this weekend, and they were compared to the Lee brothers of kayak fishing, except they both can fish better than Matt Lee. But, they are just, super talented, both of them. And they've made a giant splash on the kayak scene, obviously, Edwin winning 2 or 3 last year. Nolan and Edwin both winning tournaments this year, making it to the TOC, cashing good checks there. It's been fun to watch. And for some reason in my tiny little brain, I completely forgot about Cody being in the running for that. I already had a comment typed out congratulating Edwin on the awards, and they were like, 2nd place, Ewing Minor. And I'm like, oh, a race. Sorry about that. Yeah. Good job, Todd.
He's raising them right. I'm looking over here at your day 3. I know we kind of already talked about all 3 days together, but you had 4 20s and a 19 and a quarter. At any point, did you lose or have a chance to have 5 20s?
Oh,
in the
yeah.
bag?
Yeah. I did.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Over 20.
Just casually? Yeah. Easily.
Threw a 26 back. Didn't put it on the board.
You wouldn't believe how many fish missed my bait or, popped off. So and normally in a tournament, you'd be cursing yourself and be mad about it, but I wasn't worried about it because I knew the next cast you'd probably get bit again.
Because I had a 20-inch lead. I wasn't that upset. Yeah, it's probably comforting.
Yeah.
I can see Brian out there just like losing a 20-incher late in the day on day 3 and just like, how about
Just
that?
laughing.
How
Got
about
a
that?
Slim Jim hanging off his lips like a camel.
I was talking to like Nolan. I'm like, oh, that was a big one. I'm like, let's throw it again. Another one.
Gosh. That's rough.
What a day, man. What a day. More questions for the champ. Throw them in the comments, please. Todd Patrick said he had comments written for AOI for Ewing as well. So, yeah, never put the cart before the horse. Anyone. Never know what's going to happen. That crazy math.
I know. AJ and his trick calculator. You got to watch him. I think he's got something out. He's got something against Edwin. You heard it here first. Hobie hates families. That was a joke. That was an old running joke. Nobody take that too seriously. Hobie does, in fact, not hate families. So, there.
Yeah. So
what's next on your hit list, Brian? What do you do now? Are you going to quit bass fishing now that you've conquered all of us?
I need a new challenge.
Kite fishing? Do you do that?
What's that?
Kite fishing? You do any of that down there?
I have, yeah.
Already?
But again, this year was just a goal to make the TOC. So now I don't have to challenge myself to make the TOC. I'm qualified for that next year. But I guess it's just to win a normal event. I like to win one. That was going to be the goal next year, was just to get a top 3. So I, surpassed that this year. So I don't know. There's some good places on the schedule I'm looking forward to. So we'll see.
Well, as you see, you don't have to win anything to win the AOI. So maybe chase the AOI. You can just go top 5 all year next year. Win that AOI.
That's a solid point.
Yeah.
Consistency, big to me. I take pride in that. So that would be amazing to be in the running for AOI come the end of the year. But that'd be a big challenge.
Yeah, it's tough. Got comments and questions coming in from YouTube. Dirk White makes a great comparison, Ryan. He said they're more like the Johnston brothers on the Elite Series. Wreck them wherever they go. Maybe that is a better comparison because they're both up there doing damage all the time.
Never watched the Elite Series, so I don't know. I'm just kidding.
They are Canadian, and they do.
That's why I don't know them. I don't get that channel down here.
No offense, Nate.
Whatever
Nate Conley's watching. No offense to you.
I know. I saw the King in the North up there. He said freshwater over saltwater now, Brian.
The North remembers. Let's see. Somebody asked, what line were you using for your topwater? Braid?
I throw braid on everything.
Braid on everything.
Yeah.
And rod, heavy action, medium action, fast, extra fast. What'd you have?
Medium. You know, I'll throw spinners for top water and with my worm spinning reels.
Really?
To be honest, I recently just this year bought bait casters. So
That's the saltwater in, isn't it?
yeah,
Him and Brandon Barton out there with a full lineup of bass tackle, all on spinning gear.
yep.
What do you throw your chatterbait? The old pin. I got my pin 7,000 here.
I tell you what, though, you can throw a damn topwater 100 miles with a spinning rod.
Oh yeah. I was throwing a chatterbait on spinning rod, but I got a bait caster for it now.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Ryan Van Tine, he is in a Hobie. He has great sense. Don't worry about what kind of kayak. Actually, I think you may be the first person that put me in a Hobie, Brian.
Really?
As a matter of fact, I think that's the first time I was ever in a Hobie. I'm pretty sure. Yep.
Cool.
Look at you go.
Justin Ridnour on YouTube, Brian. How many weeks did you pre-fish? I don't know if that was being like sarcastic or what. Were you there a long time, or did you just take like the week? Or
no, I came in Monday night. 3 days.
Okay.
Never been there before.
I'm assuming that was he wasn't being sarcastic, because there is instances of that at some of these championships. We've had people camp out, but there was a specific off limits for this one.
Correct.
Isn't that right? Was it a week? 30 days?
Yeah.
What was it?
Saturday before you could start pre-fishing.
Yeah, but I think it was 3 weeks off limits before that,
right.
or 45 days, or there was like a 45-day info cutoff, and then a few weeks of no pre-fishing, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
I don't know what this means. Van Tine, did you search for a lady named Kelly to court and ask to be your wife, or did it just happen? The people want to know.
His homework. He got you on LinkedIn.
Was your wife's name Kelly?
Yeah. So
Kelly Nelli?
Kelly Nelli.
And yes, that is her name, and she loves it.
That's an amazing deal. Was that on purpose?
On purpose? No, I did not search a Kelly out.
She looked you up, didn't she?
Yeah,
This was MySpace. This was MySpace, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Busted.
Nah. And Van Tine, he's got the questions tonight. He said, "Do you use electronics or just dip a meat thermometer in the water like Drew Gregory does?"
God. No, I run electronics.
Yeah, that's a real thing, by the way. I don't know if you saw that show, Brian, but Drew, when he doesn't have electronics, just has a meat thermometer that he sticks down in the water to check it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back to some of these questions. Todd says if Matt wouldn't have lost his phone, he thinks Ewing would have won AOY. Is that true?
I don't know. You'll have to ask AJ's special calculator. For those of you that don't know, Matt Scotch, who has done this numerous times before, is a scary part, lost his phone. Was it day 3 that he lost his phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lost his phone day 3. Apparently went scuba diving for it for an hour in this cold front. Strips his clothes off, puts his PFD back on, and goes back to fishing, and actually used another angler's phone to log into his tourney eggs and submit a couple fish on day 3. But yeah, that's the story of Scotch's 3rd or 4th or 5th lost phone. So if anybody runs a tether company and you want to sponsor Matt Scotch, feel free to reach out.
Now, when you saying he put his PFD back on, you're talking PFD and nothing else? Or just like PFD and
I heard, conflicting stories, but I heard that he had like a longer shirt on.
He's wearing a dress.
The PFD. But that was, I learned about this in Rolando's write-up. I'm dying to see photographic evidence of what happened here. So if anybody can chime in with the whole story, so to speak,
I can tell you this. Of all the rules we've talked about, Scotch fishing naked has to be included. That's not allowed at any point going forward. So let's add that to the addendum.
It happens when you're out on the water. I got my waders wet on Gunnersville one time, and I was going to scout for ducks, so I just took my waders off because you're a lot colder if you keep the wet on you. So I just took my waders off and was out, riding around in my boxer scouting for ducks, and got some strange looks then. I can't imagine one of the Louisiana swamp people pulling up on naked Scotch Standing
boy.
there
Hey, boy.
flipping cypress trees. Oh man,
We don't look too kindly on boys like you down here.
what a time to be alive.
Oof. Hey, I was looking at some of the prior questions about electronics, and it got me to thinking because you were fishing next to Nolan, and you yourself said you had electronics. Did either one of you? I know Nolan runs live scope. Was that a deal? Could you see the fish coming in and out of that grass, or was it too shallow, too messy to even use that?
Too shallow, yeah. No, yeah, he had said something about running it, but he says too shallow. I don't have live scope.
Okay. I know those minor brothers are aficionados on the scope.
They'll scope them out quick. Steve Fields threw a fun fact in. Did you know one of Brian's second spots, all he found was 18-inch fish? I'm sorry about that, Brian.
Yeah.
Bless your heart. It's only 90 inches worth of fish. That's terrible.
Yeah. On day 2, I was trying to upgrade, like I said, at different areas, and I kept getting 18s, and that's when I said I'd better stop so I don't ruin these other fish just in case I need them. Because an 18 didn't help me at that time.
You didn't need them. You were good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at what you could have rolled in with on day 3 and still been fine, and I guess you could have rolled in with about 80 inches and still been fine.
Really?
Just fine. That's wild.
You should have saved all your big fish just to see like how close you could cut it if you didn't have to worry about sandbaggers all the time.
Oh, I just wanted to put a stamp on it right away.
I don't blame you. I think when you crush people's spirits, it really says something about you winning the tournament. Like, don't even let them feel like they can get close.
Hey, and you know what? I wouldn't be doing justice if I didn't give a shout out to my guy, Justin Brewer from Arkansas, who finished in the top 10. He finished 9th. He was my sleeper pick from our club up here, and he ended up in the top 10. I know Marshall made a run into the top 10. Justin Patrick, who we've had on the show before, top 3. How about Justin Patrick?
Old Memphis, Tennessee, boy.
And then number 2, Brady. I've known him since he was a kid, just a youngin' over here in Nebraska fishing events on the old Midwest series. So it's cool to see him do well.
He went all in this year. I heard, I heard him saying, he's been chasing tournaments, living in the car, just getting after it this year.
Yeah, he's Brandon Polinick in his early years. That's him.
Brian, have you considered just not guiding or salt watering and just living in your car and trying to do this all year?
No. Well,
nope. Sure haven't.
I think Miss Kelly may have something
Kelly
to say
Nelli
about that.
says, hell no, brother.
I enjoy guiding, but I did say this year that I was gonna put more time into my fishing. So, and I did that. So, and it proved to be worthwhile financially as well as mentally.
Yeah, I'm assuming the 45K's quite a few guide trips.
Yeah, it helped.
It's like 4 at least.
Like 4.
Yeah.
Full days or half
man
days?
charges a lot for a clown knife fish. I'll tell you that.
Half days or full days? 4. What are you talking about?
It was a half. I had to work, dog.
No. Yeah. Before we get to the end of the show, we're going on about 50 minutes. We don't like to go more than an hour, especially as tired as you are. Tell us a little bit about what you have going down there. I see your hat. What your business and your guide business down there in South Florida.
Yeah, it's pushing water kayak charters. Been doing that for 13 years now. We do a lot of offshore trips, so we're catching sailfish, mahi, tuna, big game stuff. We're blessed in this area that the deeper water is fairly close to shore, so we actually launch from the beach, and it's about a mile out to where we can get into those kind of fish. And then we also do, inshore saltwater trips for snook, tarpon, jacks, trout, redfish. And then, like Ryan said, we also have the exotics, the clown knife fish and peacock bass. There's some largemouth bass in those waterways as well, but, people come down for the exotic type fish we can't get anywhere else. We have some snakehead fisheries as well mixed in there. So pretty much anything you could want.
You got your page pulled up here. Some cool stuff. You guys have.
If you're ever in the area, definitely hit up Brian, go out with him. I like the snakehead fishing's pretty fun. Like they're not, and these aren't like the northern snakeheads, but they are just as mean and just as aggressive. A lot of fun. A lot of times, you can get them frog fishing, topwater type deal. Super exciting. And then of course, peacock bass are great for a pretty pick. If you get somebody that's tiny like Monster Mike, you can make them look real big, but for regular adults, long arm it.
What's your favorite fish to target in the salt?
You know, I just don't like doing the same thing every week in and week out. So I mean, I like changing it up. So if I do 1 week offshore stuff, it's fun, and then I like to go do the peacock bass, and then maybe the next week, or every other day do something different. I don't like doing the same thing every day. So, but I do enjoy. I mean, we get in the springtime, we get a good tuna run, so I like fishing for tuna. The mahi are obviously fun and good to eat. I've caught so many sailfish that they don't. I know it shocks most people to say it, but they don't really get me excited anymore. But I like going after more of the meat fish, the kind of stuff that we don't get all the time. Sailfish is a regular thing. Kingfish and sailfish are two most common things we catch offshore. But also, I mean, I love fishing light tackle stuff. I love fishing flats with light rods and light line. So everything.
There you go.
Yeah.
You see that serious question? Looks like you did. You commented, Ryan.
Yeah, go ahead and throw that up. I don't know if Brian's figured it out. Yeah, he's won some big saltwater tournaments, though, so I'm sure you've been familiar with the government's share of your winnings. Yeah. Spend as much money as you can before the end of the year.
Well, how's that going to work? The second part of that question was, you're in Florida. There's no state income tax. What is there? Is winnings taxable in Florida?
Yeah, it's all federal. I mean, everything's under the business, so I let my tax guy handle that.
There you go. There you go. I like that.
I ended up having to pay a decent amount a couple years ago because of that, because I'd already bought all new boats and whatnot for the year. So like the end of the year, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna blow this money on now. Got me on that one.
I don't know what this means, but Monty Murdoch said triple tail on crab buoys. Is that something cool down in the saltwater?
Yeah, we do that in the spring, like February, March, April.
All right. There you go, Monty.
Coon King Bob, have you ever hooked and caught a marlin?
No marlins. Again, sailfish, very common. I don't think anybody in a kayak has hooked into a marlin on the, in Florida coast, to my knowledge.
Levi from here in Arkansas, he asked, does Brian do much snook fishing?
Yep. That's snook is pretty much our main inshore species that we go after.
Bob Baylor also asked, are kayaks tax deductible? Absolutely. If you have your deal set up right there, they are.
Yep. Yeah. Taxes, fishing gear, travel expenses, tournament entries, lodging, keep up with all that stuff.
Especially now. There's 87,000 new people looking at all that.
Buddy, I'm waiting on a knock on. Dude, God, I got a freaking letter from the IRS 2 weeks ago and just started sweating bullets. And I was like, oh, shit, I hope nobody listens to this and audits anything. I'm like, I don't have half my freaking receipts for this shit. So I open it and it's like, the $8 from last year was applied to your refund for this year. I was like, oh man, you could have just sent a text or something. You had to send a letter for that. Gosh.
Hey, we got Billy Bowden in the comments. I think he's calling it right. I think Brian's growing weary. He says Brian's ready.
Brian's
to go to
been trying to go to bed, Billy. He did. I'm glad you came on, Brian. I thought we were going to have to mail you a power pole or some kind of kayak catfish ransom to come on here tonight.
All good.
Yeah, man. Well, we're not going to keep you much longer, man. We appreciate you taking the time after that long drive home, and I'm sure you're going to have 100 more podcast requests for the next week or so. Being the grand champion, so superstar, baby. You're going to do the circuit, but congrats again. Is there anybody you want to shout out before you slide out of here tonight?
Just a couple of main people from this tournament, at least, like DOA Lures helped me out, Crowder Rods, Frog Togs. Frog Togs helped me big time with the cold, so that was a big advantage. It actually wasn't that bad, besides my hands freezing, and I had my little hat hands to help with that. But Hobie Fishing, obviously, they helped me out. My local dealer, South River Outfitters, always helped me, give me the things I need for the tournament trail. That's about it. Appreciate it, guys.
You bet, man.
Congrats. That was an awesome win. Obviously, dominant. That's the best descriptive term for that. Your story's awesome, man. Coming over into freshwater and just taking the crown that quick into it. That's a pretty amazing feat.
Appreciate it. Yep.
All right, buddy. Get some sleep.
Yep. Thank you.
There we go, Ryan. What a show. I think that's
awesome, man. I mean, how crazy is that? Come in like, hell, I think I can fish with them bass boys. 3 years later, dominates the top 50 in the sport. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah, and you can tell my man's level-headed. He's very tactical about what he's doing there, about how he goes about things. So, if he gets more serious next year, I bet he'll still keep doing damage all the way across the actual series.
I mean, if you, I know a lot of bass anglers don't know Brian, but if you Google him and check his pedigree, he's won a lot of shit for saltwater fishing. Like he is no stranger to tournaments or winning. So I don't think it's going to get any easier for people trying to get in front of him.
Nah, winning is winning. If you got that edge and you got that mentality, it translates. So that's good stuff. Good stuff, man. Next week, who are we gonna bring on next week? We'll work it out before then. We keep trying to get that bass leader on here, but it's not quite
we're always waiting on some kind of bass approval for something. We need to get Cody Milton on here in the next couple weeks. Got a couple bigger pro guests that we're going to have on throughout the winter season while they're off. We're going to pick a couple brains and see what they think about the goings on the MLF bass transition type stuff, and then kind of their thoughts on the growth of kayak fishing, how that plays into the market. Oh, something else I wanted to touch on, Jeff. We talked there. I guess it was a post of somebody that applied to a pro staff and didn't get on to a pro staff, so screenshotted the email and posted it. It's probably not a good idea. First of all, number one, but number two, like these companies, when you apply to promote them or to work for them, however you want to look at it, they want to see that you believe in their product and that you've been using it and want to promote it for a reason. Like if I go buy a pair of Nikes yesterday and I've worn Adidas my whole life, you can't really speak to why that product's great and what you like about it. So don't be shocked if you don't have something that you're offering these companies for them to buy in on. They're going to check your social media stuff. They're going to check references. They don't just throw stuff out the door. That's not how you stay in business. So kind of keep that in mind.
If you don't have a giant personal brand like that's the exception to all that. If you're a giant, like a Brandon Polinick on the Elite Series, or professional sports, you can talk, LeBron James or somebody like that. If you don't have a giant profile where they're just going to say, hey, please switch to our product and we'll pay you. But for what we're talking about and in our sport, that ain't the deal. You've got to show brand loyalty already.
And that's the difference. That's a great point that you made. Your brand, either you already have a brand established, so you have a following, or they are the established brand and you're going in trying to offer them something. So you got to be aware of which side of the seesaw you're on there.
It's all one big value proposition. You got to show some value to them. So,
that's right.
There you go. Look at that. KBN education tonight. KBN cares.
Monty thinks he's out there throwing a topwater shrimp, boy.
Yeah, he might have been. Who knows, man? Who knows? A lot of comments saying great show. We appreciate that. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching. We appreciate y'all.
We do.
We'll wrap this thing up. Come back next week. What do you say, Ryan?
I'll be back next week. Let's do that.
All right.
Later.
See y'all.